Of course, another sad development. We maybe could put a question mark on whether or not ISIS has been defeated militarily on the ground in Syria and Iraq. For sure, one thing that is definitely clear, and we see the bloody evidence of that in Israel over the last 3 weeks, is that their ideas, their ideology, and their online incitement is definitely alive, and it's reaching Palestinians, Israeli Arabs, and unfortunately they're finding an audience there, an audience that is willing to commit murder and to kill innocent Israeli civilians. And that's what we've seen over the last weeks. I think the state of Israel and the security organizations are taking the threat very seriously, but I think there's a big disparity between how the world speaks about ISIS, Iraq, Syria, and how they think about the threats that we, real, everyday Israeli civilians, face every day. There's a disparity here. I think it should be addressed, and I think that, again, the double standard by which our security threats are dealt with by overseas audiences, it should be re-examined, and we should really say clearly the threats that Israeli civilians face are maybe not ISIS-directed, but ISIS-inspired. That's the level of brutality, and that's the threat that our civilians face. I'm confident that Israeli police, security agency, and the IDF are operating, and they get their hands on each and every perpetrator. But it is definitely a growing threat which cannot be overlooked.
Clearly a danger here. Another interesting issue, something that we've seen this week, it began with the desiccation of the area of Joseph's tomb in Nablus by Palestinians. Then Israeli forces came in to repair and secure the place. But this issue quickly became, as many times happen in Israel, a political issue with religious emblems coming in, and is perhaps this conflict taken out of the military sphere to the political sphere.
Let's untangle that. Twice desecrated by Palestinians with the probable, maybe okay, blind eye by local authorities, local Palestinian authorities. Israeli troops go in to secure so that the local authority, the Shomron local authority, can fix the place and renovate. Unfortunately, we see Israeli troops and commanders get tangled in the junction of military, politics, and religion, all in a very combustible area. My point of view is that the IDF's perhaps most important asset in Israeli society is that it is void and clear of politics. We all have our political opinions and beliefs. We check those at the door, and when Israeli commanders lead soldiers, they focus on the mission. And what we saw here is perhaps the local authority, the Shomron local authority, perhaps using the IDF a bit as a stepping stone in order to promote political purposes, and an Israeli commander getting caught up in that mix. Very important to keep the IDF clear of politics. There's immense pressure on the IDF constantly from all sides, left, right, center, from abroad. What the IDF must remain and be very vigilant of is its political unaffiliation, and to keep it clear, professional, focus on the job.
And finally, briefly, no military operation has been announced, but it seems as if the IDF understood that in order to stop terrorism, you need to go into the Palestinian cities at any time, at any cost, and grab those people in charge or of incitement and terrorism.
We spoke about that last week. We said that the northern Judea and Samaria area and the south, they are an area of lawlessness. The Palestinian Authority is gradually losing control. Those are the two areas where the IDF is operating. That's where you see massive arrest operations going on, and that's where you see lots of clashes between Israeli security forces and Palestinians. My assessment is that this will continue. You will see the IDF, and in coordination with other security agencies, continue to hunt down terrorists. And we see that there's a lot of pushback. We see that there is an organized pushback. There's violence against Israeli troops, which indicates that they've been waiting for it or already. My estimate is that this will continue, and it may likely escalate.
Well, this is at least what we're seeing on the ground. Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus, former international spokesperson at the IDF, thank you very much for being with us.